Hi, I'm Rob from the Malt Miller, and today I'm going to talk about pressure transferring from a Grainfather Conical to a corny keg and the kit that's needed to carry out. Okay, so Grainfather actually do make a pressure transfer kit for their conical fermenter. It's a great piece of kit, works really well. We've produced this because it's a different take on it. It's used slightly differently and possibly a little bit more flexible in its use. So let's have a look at what the kit contains. The first item is a tri-clamp fitting. Now this fits on the lid of the fermenter. It's a corny gas in post with a 5 psi pressure relief valve. Now this allows you to add CO2 head pressure to the top of the fermenter. We also include the gasket and the tri-clamp for this. There's a couple of John Guest fittings for the valve on the bottom of the fermenter, and there's your necessary gas line, beer line, and both the black and grey disconnects and corresponding John Guest fittings. Firstly, let's add the corny tri-clamp fitting. So there's the fitting. We need the gasket. Pop that on there, like so. Let's do the gasket up. That's your lid, good to go. Right, so for the bottom, for the valve. So normally we have this 90-degree elbow, stainless steel 90-degree elbow. We need to remove this. Just take that off. And we need to add this John Guest fitting. Now obviously this is plastic going into stainless steel and these threads are quite fine, so we just need to be careful we don't cross thread it. Screw that in. Comes with its own gasket, that fitting, so just hand tight and that will seal, no issue. We get the 90-degree elbow and we just push that in like so. We're now ready to fit the 3/8 beer line. So next we want to set up our black disconnect and our John Guest fitting for the beer line. Black disconnect and the John Guest fitting is threaded. Screw that straight on. Now it's ready to accept the gas line or beer line. We supply 4 meters, so 2 meters for gas and 2 meters for beer, although you can chop them down to whatever length you require. These John Guest are push fittings, so just push that home. That's now a gas or beer type fitting. Now as you can see, we've actually installed the valve into the fermenter. Now obviously you can do this, you can take the stainless steel 90-degree bend off and install the John Guest fitting at any stage during the fermentation you require. Now to fit the beer line, just push it home into the John Guest fitting, feel it click. That's now beer tight. Okay, so we've now got a keg that has got in it just a couple of litres of a no rinse sanitizer solution. You can use Chem San, Star San, whatever your choice of no rinse. So we're going to need to purge this of the sanitizer, and in doing so we're also going to purge it of oxygen. So basically we're going to end up with a keg that is full of CO2. Firstly, let's add our gas line to our regulator. I'll pop that on there like that. We'll make sure that our regulator's off. Open our gas bottle. Pop the disconnect on, and we want to add some pressure. We don't need too much, we just need enough to be able to pump out the sanitizer that's in here. We can now actually completely close our bottle and disconnect it. We'll next add our black disconnect to the outpost. This is going to force the sanitizer that's in the keg out. So you can see that's now pouring out. We're just going to wait until all that's come out. Once this has come out, we're actually going to drop this into the sanitizer, the whole of the disconnect and the line. That's enough. We can now put that into the sanitizer. We can dump the rest of the pressure out of the keg. This is important actually. We don't want any pressure in this keg when we connect it up to the fermenter. Okay, so we've got a sanitized keg that's void of oxygen completely. We've got a black disconnect and our beer line that's completely sanitized. We're going to open up the PRV, hold the PRV open, jam it open using the ring. That's quite important. We don't want any pressure in this keg blowing CO2 back up the fermenter. Firstly, let's put on our black disconnect. Now, obviously we're filling the keg down the out dip tube, so it's doing it, filling it in the most gentle way possible. So pop that on there. That's on. Next, we want to add our beer line to the bottom of the valve into the John Guest fitting. So just pop that in there. That's our beer out, all set up, ready to go. Okay, so we need to make sure that our regulator is off, it's not delivering any gas at all, and we need to place our grey disconnect onto the gas fitting that's on top of the keg. Now we can start adding a small amount of gas. Now, this is a really important note. The Grainfather Conical is not a pressure rated vessel. It'll take a couple of PSI before it starts leaking. Now, we're not worried about leaking a small amount of CO2 whilst we're pressure transferring. We've also got a PRV on here as well, so we know that it's nice and safe, but we're only using a small amount of CO2 pressure just to be able to push the beer that's in the fermenter out of the fermenter into the keg. So let's just apply a small amount of pressure now. So we're just looking at a couple of PSI. So the nice thing about the regulators, both the Micromatic and the ODL regulators that we sell, are it's very easy to add small amounts of CO2, just a couple of PSI. So let's just start doing that now. So it's now time to be able to open up the valve on the bottom, and we'll now see the beer transfer from the valve into the keg. You can see it flowing up the line here. Now this is why it's important that we have the PRV open, because if the PRV wasn't open, you wouldn't get this transfer, because obviously the beer's forcing the CO2 out of the pressure relief valve. Now it's really worth noting at this point that you might be slightly unsure of the volume level of the liquid that's in, or the beer that's inside the fermenter. You might have dry hopped, you might have done various trub dumps, so you might have an unknown amount of liquid in here. If that's the case and you think it might be more than the volume of one keg, you can simply put the keg on a set of scales. Now you know that beer weighs just slightly more than a kilo per litre. So if you work on a kilo per litre, you'll know the volume of the liquid that's inside your keg. Thanks for watching today. Please add any comments below, and remember to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell for our latest content. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. Cheers!